Welcome to this explainer. If you've been keeping an eye on real estate lately, trying to figure out what is actually happening down in San Mateo County, well, it can feel a bit like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. It's confusing. Today, we're going to explore exactly why the Peninsula housing market feels so intensely chaotic right now, and more importantly, what the underlying data actually reveals when we strip away all that noise.
Okay, let's dive right into this wild paradox we're seeing. On one side, we have this steady drumbeat of national headlines telling us inventory is increasing, interest rates are painfully high, and buyers are just exhausted. If you only read the news, you'd honestly think the market was freezing over. But then you look at the ground-level reality for local Peninsula buyers, and it's an entirely different universe. We're still seeing absolutely brutal bidding wars, homes going for well over their asking prices, and sales happening at breakneck speeds.
To make sense of this massive disconnect, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the real estate paradox, then look at single-family scarcity, the balanced condo market, and the accelerating luxury sector. Finally, we'll ask the big question: who gets to live here?
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the real estate paradox. We really have to start by completely debunking a myth that's confusing so many buyers and sellers right now. And that's the idea that there's still a singular, monolithic housing market in 2026. The reality? The Peninsula housing market didn't just quietly cool down, it literally split into three completely different markets. The crazy buying frenzy of 2021 might be gone, sure, but that giant crash everyone expected when mortgage rates doubled, yeah, that didn't happen either. Instead, San Mateo County has fractured into three simultaneous, parallel markets functioning right next to each other. And honestly, understanding which specific market you're actually standing in changes absolutely everything about how you navigate it.
Which brings us to Section 2, single-family home scarcity.
Let's talk about the highly competitive, detached home market. Here, the defining feature driving buyer behavior isn't just the price tag, it's extreme, undeniable scarcity. Take the number 1.9. That represents a mere 1.9 months of available single-family inventory currently sitting on the market. To put that into perspective, anything below 2 months of inventory is universally recognized as a fierce, downright aggressive seller's market. There simply aren't enough homes to go around to meet the baseline demand.
And this severe scarcity, it completely dictates buyer behavior. Well-prepared homes aren't just selling, they're effortlessly commanding an average of 107% of their asking prices. Buyers are literally fighting over this severely limited inventory, and these detached homes are just flying off the market, usually going under contract in about 24 days. It's incredibly fast.
There's this quote from real estate and city planning professional Kevin Gardner that I think hits the nail on the head. He says, "The single-family home has become the limited edition version of Peninsula real estate." Think about that for a second. The established, tree-lined neighborhoods of places like Burlingame, San Mateo, Belmont, Redwood City, and Menlo Park, they're completely built out. Buyers are fiercely competing for this classic California product that will rarely, if ever, be built again in this region. It really is a limited edition.
Now, what's keeping the supply so incredibly tight, even with prices staying this high? It's something called the mortgage lock-in effect. The concept is simple, but it's a huge deal. It's basically when homeowners flat out refuse to sell their property because moving would mean giving up a historically low mortgage rate for a much higher current one.
Everyone thought higher interest rates would absolutely cool the market by reducing buyer demand. And, they kind of did. But here's the catch. Because so many homeowners refinanced during the pandemic and are sitting comfortably on rates around 3%, they are incredibly reluctant to trade that in for a 6% or higher current mortgage just to change addresses. So, while higher rates did reduce the number of buyers, the lock-in effect reduced the number of sellers right along with it. Supply and demand dropped at the exact same time, which is exactly why prices have remained so remarkably resilient.
Okay, moving on to Section 3, the balanced condo market.
Here is where the entire narrative shifts, almost like flipping a switch. Take the number 3.7. Unlike that frenzied detached home market with its sub-2 months of supply, condos and townhomes are currently sitting at about 3.7 months of available inventory. That extra availability brings this specific segment so much closer to a normal, balanced market. That severe, anxiety-inducing imbalance we just talked about, it completely vanishes here.
In practice, having 3.7 months of inventory completely transforms the buyer experience. While single-family homes are getting snapped up in about 24 days, condos are averaging roughly 51 days on the market. For a buyer, those extra days are absolute gold. Taking almost 2 months to sell means you actually have time to breathe, time to think, more choices to tour, and most importantly, actual room to negotiate. Instead of having to bid 107% of the asking price, condos are selling right around 99.6%.
The thing is, attached homes simply aren't fundamentally tied to that same brutal land scarcity as detached homes, so they operate by a totally different set of rules. Instead, they're competing directly on key lifestyle factors: your overall monthly affordability, the exact location, the quality of the amenities, HOA costs, and the specific lifestyle they offer. It's essentially a totally different product serving a very different type of buyer.
Let's jump into Section 4, the accelerating luxury sector.
So while middle-tier single-family homes are scarce and condos are balancing out, the very top end of the market has quietly entered the stratosphere. Get this, 27%. We've seen an absolutely astonishing 27% year-over-year increase in sales for properties priced over $5 million. This sector is essentially defying high interest rates entirely, behaving as if the broader economic headwinds simply do not exist. It's wild. So you're probably wondering who is driving this luxury surge and what exactly are they looking for? Well, high-income tech buyers are selectively hunting for some very premium features. We're talking expansive space, deep privacy, dedicated home offices, much larger lots, and exceptional build quality. This massive growth is heavily driven by cash offers, huge stock market gains, and of course, the ongoing AI boom. Because these buyers aren't relying heavily on traditional mortgages, they're completely insulated from those rate hikes that are squeezing the rest of the market.
Comparing these numbers side by side really hammers the point home. You can clearly see how wildly different the reality is depending on which segment you're actually in. Think about it. Single-family buyers are facing a $1.9 million median price, homes moving in 24 days and paying well over asking. But condo buyers, they're looking at an $855,000 median price, taking almost 2 months to close and paying slightly under asking. It's the exact same geographic county, but totally different universes.
And that leads us to our final part. Section 5. Who gets to live here?
Having seen just how fractured the market is, we really need to zoom out and look at the region as a whole, moving beyond just pure property values. The overall demand for the peninsula isn't going anywhere anytime soon, and a massive reason for that is the return-to-office effect. For a hot minute during the pandemic, we thought remote work might make geography irrelevant. But hybrid work didn't eliminate the importance of location, it just changed the math. Because ultimately, a commute 2 or 3 days a week is still a commute. The fundamental advantage of being near major Silicon Valley employers, Caltrain, airports, and those great established downtowns, that hasn't disappeared at all.
But here's the tough part. This intense, enduring desirability, combined with the extreme scarcity we've been talking about, creates a major friction point for the area. Vital community members are actively struggling to afford entry into this market. We're talking about teachers, public employees, young families, and remarkably, even high-income professionals are finding the barrier to entry exceptionally high.
As a purely impartial matter of economic reality, consistently underproducing housing relative to such intense demand turns what might seem like a localized real estate issue into a deep structural community issue. It's a pretty simple equation when you look at the data. Decades of limited housing creation ultimately come at a very high price for the vitality and diversity of the broader community.
And that leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. The bigger question staring San Mateo County right in the face: who gets to live here? If the market continues to adapt exclusively through severe scarcity and fragmentation, what kind of community will the peninsula become over the next decade? It's a highly complex issue without any easy answers, for sure, but understanding the actual data behind the headlines is the critical first step. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, always keep questioning what's behind the numbers.